name is Toby. Like I said, I am a data scientist, and in today's webinar, I am here to introduce to you guys data science and analytics field. I know a lot of you guys are so interested in this field, but I know there's a lot of misconceptions regarding the terms, the terminologies, the skill sets, as well as everything that happens in this field in terms of the work processes. So I'm here to break it down for you guys, so that way after this training or after this webinar, you can decide if the field is actually for you. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and share my screen so that way we can get started. All right, so like I said, today is going to be all about introducing data science and analytics. And before I start, it is very important to introduce myself. So I am Toby. I'm Tobe. They call me Toby over here. I am originally from Nigeria, and I actually moved to the US 10 years ago. I moved out here for my master's degree, and today I am a data scientist that works in a Fortune 200 company with about 10 years experience in tech. So I have a bachelor's in computer science and a master's in computer and information system, right? So I was working as a system administrator back in Nigeria for about 3 years before I moved to the US. So within the last 10 years of my career, I have worked as a system administrator. I have worked as a web dev and also data scientist. So I'm saying that because I'm just letting you guys know you can always transition from one field to another field. It doesn't matter what you are today. It doesn't stop you from transitioning. I'm also the founder of DataTechcon, and some of you guys, I know you are following us on Instagram. DataTechcon was actually founded in pursuit of my mission to help drive data literacy, especially among underrepresented communities and Africans as well. Because these are people like me. I used to be like that before, and eventually I found my foot right in the perfect career. So that's why we founded DataTechcon, and we provide a lot of data training, which I know is pretty much expensive when we compare to the currency back in Nigeria. So at the end of this whole training, I'm going to talk through on how myself and my team plan on executing training for people out there in Nigeria on a very relatively low cost compared to what we charge here. So for the training out here in the US, we charge $2,000 per student, and that is about 8 weeks worth of training. But it's nothing going to be close to that for you guys out in Nigeria. So I am also MIT certified analytics expert, and MIT, you guys know, is one of the top business schools, Massachusetts Institute of Technology out in the US. I'm also a data subject matter expert at CompTIA. A lot of you guys in tech should be very familiar with CompTIA because it's one of the top tech professional certification. So I was part of the team that created the data and analytics professional certificate. So yeah, I know everything that is right there in that certificate. Apparently we signed NDA, so no one should reach out to me asking me how they can go about that. But overall, we covered the whole content that we also use in our training and stuff, and we also set the questions. So pretty much if you really good with whatever you were doing or what you tend to do, then yeah, you can go for it. And overall, we started DataTechcon last year, and so far we've trained more than 500 students, and currently we're running the August cohort, which is going to run for 8 weeks. So now let's get into it. So the first thing is, what exactly is data science and analytics? So a lot of times we've seen people use these terms interchangeably in different environments, different industries. Some people even get confused between data science, data analytics, BI, and all that stuff. But I'm here today to break it down for you so that way you can see where you fit in. So let's start with data science. So data science is actually an interdisciplinary field that uses scientific methods and algorithms to extract insight from data. It is an umbrella term for a group of fields like data analytics and machine learning, right? So data science encompasses a lot of field. It is not just one field. It encompasses machine learning, it encompasses AI, data analytics, and all that, right? The next term we're going to break down is data. We all know data is, everyone knows what data is, but when you're caught unaware and you're asked, like maybe at an interview, like what exactly is data? I know like 80% of you guys are going to be like mumbling and stuttering and doing all that, but simply just straight to the point, data is any piece of information, and it can be represented in form of text, image, numbers, and sound, right? So when a data is represented in a form of text and numbers, we call them structured data. However, when the data is represented in a form of image, sound, we call them unstructured data, right? And examples of unstructured data, if you find yourself working a lot in like all those social media companies like Instagram, Facebook, those companies are heavy on unstructured data. And that simply means you need to know how to leverage, implement, and administer data in a big data environment like Hadoop, MapReduce. However, majority of the data analytics roles, they work with structured data, which is stored in a relational database management system like SQL, SQL Server, Microsoft SQL, SQL Server, like Oracle, like MySQL, like Postgres. Those are examples of how the data is stored. So what exactly is data analytics? So data analytics is a subfield in data science that focuses on utilizing data to draw meaningful insights and solving problems. So majority of the time, when you're a data analyst, BI analyst, you fall into this category. However, when you're a data scientist, you fall into the first category. And in a layman's term, data science is just an advanced analytics. So the only difference between data science and data analytics is when you use the machine learning algorithms. So that is where we create things like predictive models, recommendation systems, and all that stuff. So these specifically, I highly recommend for people with people with technical experience, right? You might want to go into data science, might want to go into data analytics. However, it's not all about you. It's all about when you start going for interview. For instance, I interview a lot of people, right? And at the end of the day, I'm getting like over 200 resumes. And the first thing I check, I see people like resumes with like technical experience like computer science degrees, statistics, economics, and I see people with degrees like maybe international relations, English, and all that. I mean, the first thing is I'm definitely going to contact those ones with the technical background. So those are the kind of things we look out during interview processes. It's not like, yeah, you can always transition into data science if you have non-technical background. However, it is always very, very helpful and better for you to start as a data analytics professional. So that is the difference. We'll always consider people with data science background because one, we know they've covered a lot when it comes to like computer science and a lot of like the codings and all that stuff, and we feel we can easily train them into it, right? So the next one is data analysis. So data analysis is actually a process in data analytics workflow. So we're going to cover the workflow, what it is exactly. Like for instance, you start working as a data analyst, you got on the job the first day, what are you expected to do? You got an email saying, hey, we're running a marketing campaign, or we ran a marketing campaign in the last 2 months. We want you to collect the data, extract the data, analyze the data, and explore the data. So keep in mind, majority of the time, I don't know how it works back there, but I know a lot of you have visions of like coming out here, maybe to the US, to Canada and all that. Keep in mind, especially when you're in technical roles, you barely have like those regular trainings you feel you get at the job. You're not doing sales, you're not doing marketing. So they're not training you on scripts to read, right? So they expect you to get on the job and start delivering the tasks. I can tell you all the roles I've done in the last 5 years as a data scientist. I started as a data analyst and I transitioned into data science, right? All the roles I've done, I don't think I have ever been provided training. In my previous role, we employed 2 people that came in as data analysts. On the 3rd day, they gave them their paycheck and they were like, they are not competent enough. They should leave. And I was like, oh, Charles, because Charles was my supervisor. And I was like, Charles, I can train them because I love training people. And it was like, no, I don't want you using your time to train people. So it is totally different when you're working in tech. No one is going to train you on how to code. No one is going to train. The highest they can do is just tell you about where the data is being stored, and they expect you to figure out everything yourself. So keep that at the back of your mind. You can always become whatever you want to become, but I always advise to go slowly but surely. So the next one is going to be the business intelligence. So business intelligence combines business analytics, data mining, data visualization, data tools and infrastructures, and best practices to help organizations make more data-driven decisions. So business intelligence and data analytics fall in almost the same category. So you can apply for jobs. So that's why one thing I noticed, even when we start training, a lot of people feel once you are trained to in data analytics, then automatically you're a data analyst. No, and people get this so wrong to the extent that they always forget to like search for a broader term when they start applying for jobs. They are stuck with searching for the term data analyst. We have more than 20 roles in the field data analytics, and I have curated that for you guys so that way, and at the end of the training I'm going to share this to you to everybody, so that way you guys can have a copy and you can always reflect back. So like I said, you can be a data analytics professional, which is a term I prefer to use because they have a lot of roles. You're not just going to call yourself a data analyst because you're losing up on many of the roles, right? So the next one we're going to talk about is machine learning. So machine learning is basically a subfield in AI, right? So this is where we train the machines using like various algorithms depending on the type of model we're trying to build. It can be the business questions can be like supervised or unsupervised, so that way we can use either regression, classification, or clustering. But this is where the data scientists focus more on the machine learning aspect, right? Many of them don't do like the data collection or like working with BI tools. They work a lot with Python or any machine learning tool. So that's the difference. And AI, what exactly is artificial intelligence? So artificial intelligence is stimulating human knowledge and decision making with computers. We reach AI through machine learning. So machine learning, AI, they fall in the same category. However, machine learning is a subset of data science and also AI. So when we talk about AI, we have a lot of like different fields. We have like computer vision, deep learning, neural networks, and all that. So what I always say to people, as you go deeper in the field, like after 2 to 3 years, you can always decide if you want to like delve deeper and become more niche driven, or you just want to be a generalist. So it's an option, but I mean, that's going to be when you go deeper. And sometimes you hear a lot of people or companies, I've seen a lot of jobs saying out here saying augmented analytics, right? So that simply means it's just a way of enabling technologies such as machine learning and AI to assist with data preparation. So we use this a lot with these, we use them in terms of using like various tools and softwares, because right here they're big on softwares that actually help to like eliminate iterative processes like data preparation, data cleaning, and all that. So that is where we apply augmented analysis. But overall, there is difference between data science and data analytics. And in just a conclusion, data analytics is just a subfield in data science, and data science, the only difference between data science and data analytics is machine learning. So So I know like a lot of you guys have been like, oh, I want to be a data scientist, data scientist, data scientist. Yeah, you're once you start working with data, automatically you're a data scientist. Just like you having a computer science degree, you're automatically a computer scientist. So it's not until your job title says data scientist that you're a data scientist. Out here, they use a lot of terms. And out here, sometimes when I search jobs with like the term data science, the pay tends to be lesser than when I check with the specific field. For instance, I search with financial data scientists. I tend to see like more pay. So those are the things we look out for. I don't know why this is happening, but I don't know. Anyway, moving to the next stage. I don't know what this is, but we'll see. All right, so moving to the next one, we're gonna talk about the two major categories of data scientists. The first one is the business data scientist, and the second one is the product data scientist. So when we talk about the business data scientist, these type of data scientists focus more on analyzing and deriving insight from historic data to understand what happens in the past. So this is where the data analytics people fit in. So sometimes out here they use the term data analytics, or they use the term business data sciences. So this is where you fit in if you actually take a course in data analytics. However, if you take a course in if you want to be a product data scientist, then this is where you focus more on applying ML algorithms and building models that forecast future outcomes. So there are two different things. The first one focuses on working on historic data, and the second one focuses on using those historic data to predict future outcomes. So keep that at the back of your mind. So give me 1 second. I want to figure out what this is. I'm sorry. I just want to like take out this stuff and see what exactly this is. Let's see. Anyways, I'll just go ahead. Because I don't want to restart my system. So, you guys just pardon me. I don't know what this is, but it's all over the computer. So the next thing is how exactly do you can you become a data scientist or a data analyst, right? So this simply tells us how to get into the field data science and analytics. There are three major ways, or three major highly recommended ways. The first one is by getting an accredited degree program, getting into accredited degree programs like having a bachelor's or master's. However, we highly recommend you taking a degree program in computer science. And here's the reason why. It's either computer science or information systems instead of you taking a degree in data science. And here's the reason why. Computer science encompasses a lot of things, right? In computer science, when you take degrees out here or back home, because I took my bachelor's back home, we do a lot on database management and administration. We do a lot on data modeling. We do a lot on networking, software, hardware, and all that stuff. So I say that because at the end of the day, you can decide, wake up morning and you feel like, oh, I think I want to transition from a data scientist to maybe web dev. It makes it super easy for you because you don't want to keep taking or doing like getting new degrees every time you want to transition, right? And that is the mistake a lot of the people are currently making. They are always like, oh, because data science is the buzzword and everyone is taking degrees or having their masters in data science and all that stuff. But you're gonna sit down and ask yourself, what if this career or this field fades out in the next 5 years. Because look at it, the last 10 years there was nothing called data science. We always known computer science to be like a field that has a lot of disciplines, right? However, currently data science is a buzzword, and that doesn't mean it's going to stay. And with the whole buzzword, that simply means this field is going to be super saturated in the next 5 to 10 years, right? And that means there won't be like a lot of demands, but there will be a lot of people like fading out from the field and transitioning into other types of tech like cybersecurity, web development, software development, and all that. So that's why I always recommend people taking degrees in computer science or information system. So keep that at the back of your mind. You don't want to spend all that money. I don't know how much it costs back home, but out here to get a master's degree, you're looking at a minimum of $30,000. So you're not going to spend $30,000 on just one degree that you can only limit yourself to one field. So keep that at the back of your mind. The next one is going to be through online certification training or boot camps. So this is kind of what we do. We offer online certification training that are focused on project based. So the difference is, majority of the time when you go for like degree programs, they are more focused on traditional methods of teaching. So they are always teaching you theories. And at the end of the day, when you're done with your degree, majority of the people don't even know how to apply those things in real life or in real world. So that's the difference. Majority of the online certification training and boot camps, we focus more on hands-on training, like teaching you exactly what you're going to be doing at the job when you get a role as either a data scientist or a data analyst. And the third one is self-study. For self-study, I get a lot of people emailing me, asking me questions like, oh, can you recommend free online training for me? One thing you have to keep at the back of your mind is you are going into a field that is super demanding and super saturated, or it's going to be super saturated. I think the best thing you can do for yourself is to always look for the best method of doing things. So it's either you're going for an online certification or you're getting a degree. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to receive resumes, and I see people graduating from Harvard, MIT, or like Lagos business schools and all that, and I'm going to take you with no like degree or no certification. Maybe you've been using Udemy and all that, getting like all those like online courses. We know like we have a lot, and some of the people that even do all those courses, they don't work in the field. It's just like them having the curriculum and just teaching the curriculum. So these are two different things. I only recommend self-study to like people with some kind of technical background that can easily figure out things themselves. So if you're the type of person that figure out things yourself, yes, you can go for self-study, but the self-study should always be an addition. Maybe you're having like an online class or online certification program up and running, or in Nigeria, they do a lot of those trainings, like you're enrolled and you just feel like, oh, I need to brush up. I want to be ahead of my students or other students. Then that's where you can also add self-study to your stuff. Because the major disadvantage of self-study is it can be very misleading. It can be very demoralizing, because we've seen a lot of students email us like, oh, I think I want to join your class. I've been doing self-study for like a couple of months, couple of weeks, but I think when I started, I was super excited, but along the line, when it started getting difficult and there's no one to ask questions, I started giving up. We've gotten people like that, and that everyone can attest to that, because when you study online and all that, even sometimes when you like leave messages, emails, or directly on the courses, they barely respond to you, because they are attending to people that are actually paying for their services and just putting out the free courses to like help whoever can figure it out to figure it out. So if you're just studying, that is a no-no for you. You can always learn as much as possible, but trust me, if your long-term goal is to work in maybe like the Fortune 500 companies, that is not going to cut it for you. You can always do that. You get a job in a smaller organization, that is perfectly fine. And once you get in, you can always figure out your way, like learning on the job. I can tell you, my first job was in a smaller organization, and that really helped me figure out a lot of stuff myself. So, but for you to figure out stuff yourself, you should be ready for challenges. There's a lot of challenges in this role. You do something today, tomorrow it's not working, you're troubleshooting, you're figuring it out yourself, you're fixing the issue, because they assign a task to you. You're not going to go back and tell them, I'm sorry, I cannot deliver the report because I'm having issues. But that's why they're paying you. So you see where the difference is. So you have to do your best. If you're not the type of person that want to spend time to like figure out solutions to problems, then the field is not for you. So keep that at the back of your mind. So the next thing we're going to see are the data challenges. We have a lot of challenges in data, and that is what you're expected to be working on once you get on the job. The first one is always with poor data quality. So data always comes super messy. So they expect you to collect the data and start cleaning up the data yourself without anyone telling you the types of method you have to clean the data and all that stuff, right? The second one is inaccessible data. Sometimes the data is stored in a secure database and the junior data analysts might not have access to the database, right? Especially when you work in a big organization, you have to create a ticket. And if they feel there's no need for you accessing the database, they'll rather extract the database for you and send the data to you in a spreadsheet or CSV format. So that's always another problem. The third one is the data collection. Sometimes you're collecting data, the data is never real time. And I can give you a scenario which has to do with like the COVID-19 issues, right? When the pandemic started, there was issue with like collecting data and reporting in real time. That means every second, every minute, every hour, like seeing the numbers of cases. But as time went on, they figure out a better way to collect data and also report in real time. So that's what I'm saying. You're going to be figuring out a lot of things yourself. Data silo is always a problem, and this always happens when data is coming from disparate data sources. That simply means multiple data sources. Because every time you have to work with data, the data doesn't come in a flat sheet like Excel, like what you guys are used to. Like the data doesn't always come like this. Yeah. You will never get the data like this, just one flat sheet. No, the data might be coming in from like 10 different sources. So that means you have to create what we call a data model, and you have to figure out how to get the data talking to each other. So that is your job as a data analytics professional. No one is going to teach you, but you're going to learn all these during trainings or certification, or even if you decide to go with the self-training route. The fifth one is going to be the data inconsistency. So majority of the time when we collect data, for instance, you're collecting data from Google Analytics, you're collecting data from Salesforce, you have maybe Postgres, SQL, you have data coming in from QuickBooks, and at the end of the day, you are expected to aggregate the whole data and build what we call an analytic solution. I'm going to show you guys a couple of them so that way you can understand what you're supposed to be doing with all those data. So once you do that, sometimes there's always inconsistency in the data in terms of the names of the columns, the number of rows and all that. So you're expected to fix that. The sixth one is going to be the data management. So it can either be, like I said, it can either be a structured data, and structured data are always stored in SQL, relational database management system, or the NoSQL, which is always for the big data like Hadoop, MapReduce, and all that. Then the final one is always the cost. It is like expensive. Like hiring a data scientist, a data analyst is expensive because one, you're going to be paying them outrightly. Secondly, you're going to be providing them the tools, the softwares, the hardwares they need to like get this job going. So these are like the major challenges we face in this industry, and so far it is still the same. It's not going anywhere, and I don't know if it's going to go anywhere soon. So the next one is, what exactly is data analytics? What does it encompass of? Oh, this is so annoying. Anyways, I already explained what data analytics is, which is refers to the process of analyzing raw data to uncover insights, identify trends and patterns to help make informed decisions. However, we have three major categories of data analytics, right? So sometimes you find yourself in roles like as a data analyst. For instance, being a data analyst in companies like maybe Zenith Bank, GTB, and all that is going to be totally different. Like being in a data analyst in a small company that's like 5 to 10 people, right? They expect you, those are like top companies out there in Nigeria. They expect you to be able to have some kind of advanced analytics experience. So you're not only going to be dealing with analyzing historic data, because analyzing historic data is what we call descriptive analytics, right? The second one is the predictive analytics. So this is where they expect you to do some kind of forecasting and all that. Majority of the time in like companies like that, they don't expect you to use Excel. So that is where you have to use things like Python, right? So those are the kind of things we cover, like, or we're going to cover when we like do the training for you guys as well. So they don't expect you to use Excel and do like just simple linear regression and all that. So yeah, from time to time, predictive analytics has been a thing, and especially when you analyze financial data or any data that has to do with finance. So they expect you to be able to run some kind of forecasting and or build some financial models, just like help them forecast future outcome. Then the third part of data analytics is what we call the prescriptive analytics. So at the end of every analysis, you are expected to create what we call recommendation, right? So based for an example, and I'm going to show you guys a couple of our final capstone. Students are already turning in their final capstone, so you guys are going to see what it looks like, right? So for example, you were tasked with analyzing historic data on marketing campaigns and all that. And the final goal was once you derive those insights, they expect you to make some kind of recommendations for them. For instance, I was tasked with analyzing maybe shopping cart behavior, and based on the insight, I found a lot of people abandoning the shopping cart based on reasons like maybe shipping fees and all that stuff. So at the end of the whole project, you're not just going to stop your analysis at that point. So I'm going to give them recommendations like, based on my insight, here are my recommendations. First, I think we can apply or create some kind of email marketing strategies to help retain or to help convert those customers that actually, or those prospective customers that actually abandon the cart, and provide them some kind of incentive like 10% discount or free shipping to have them complete their checkout. So these are the kind of things they expect from you. So that's where you say, that's why they said you are supposed to be analytical in thinking, right? You're not just there to like explore the data and show them the result. No, you're there to explore the data, show them the result, tell the story behind the data, and also make recommendations to help them improve in terms of optimization. Right? So the next one is going to be the key benefit of data analytics. Every time you have to analyze data, just keep at the back of your mind, you are doing 5 things, right? The first one is either to help increase revenue. The second one is always to mitigate risks. And this can be seen especially when you analyze financial data, and majority of the time, when we see people trying to like buy something or use the card in a different location, you see the banks emailing you and asking you to confirm if you're the one using your card, like type yes to proceed or no if you're not the one. So those are the kind of trends and patterns we identify when we analyze data. The third one is to improve operational value. So operational value can be in different terms, like you getting in as a data scientist or data analyst, and you're helping the company become a more data-driven organization by eliminating the redundancy in the way they analyze data using Excel, like from time to time, and introducing like new BI tools, new programming languages like R or Python to help them improve the overall operational value. The fourth one is to help them monitor and track KPIs towards goal projection. And the fifth one is automating reporting, because from time to time when you use Excel for reporting, you do a lot of things manually, right? The goal of data analytics is to automate processes, to create innovative automation. So that way, these can help industries become better and also make them have a more competitive edge over their competitors. So the next slide is just going to talk about when exactly do we use analytics. We use them in 4 stages. The first one in descriptive analytics, which is always to explain what happened. For instance, what was sales in the last 2 years? What was sales last month? What is the total number of patients that visited in the last 2 weeks? So these are incidents that happened in the past. The second one is diagnostic analysis. Explain why it happened. So that's where you have to apply some statistical method and testing, like hypothesis testing, to find out reason why you think sales for last year was higher than sales for this year. Predictive analytics. So this is where you have to forecast what will happen in the future based on what happened in the past. And like I said, the prescriptive analytics is basically where you have to like understand, give recommendation to help improve the overall efficiency. So what are the main tools we look out for applicants that want to be data analytics professionals or fill out the roles? There are 5 major tools or 4 major tools, right? The first one is always SQL. You have to be highly proficient in SQL, using SQL, which is simply structured query language to extract report from a relational database. The second one is BI, business intelligence tool. So we have 2 major types of BI tools. It's either you're good with Power BI or you're good with Tableau. These are the 2 go-to tools. The third one is Excel. Excel is not going anywhere, no matter how everything is and technology is evolving. Excel is still right there, and they expect you to be able to analyze data or crunch data with Excel. The fourth one is going to be programming language. So it's either you're good with Python or R. So it doesn't matter what tool you're good with. There are always options. Like at my job, I have the opportunity to use either Python or R. So sometimes I do some job with Python. Sometimes I do with R. Even with the BI tool, sometimes I work with Power BI. Sometimes I work with Tableau, and that's because it's a huge organization and we have about maybe 20,000 employees, and I provide all these data science projects. I work on a lot of data science projects across all states, so that is a lot. So that's why they're pretty flexible, having you use a lot of tools. The next thing we're going to look at is what are the exact skill sets we are expecting you to have for you to, one, have the chance to be interviewed and sell yourself, or 2, secure the job. So based on my years of experience, both in applying data science technologies and also in hiring, because I've hired a lot of data analysts in the past, and also at my current role, the final stage of every interview will always 8 people. 4 of us are technical, the remaining 4 are non-technical. So these are the things they expect you to have. The first one is the hard skills, which is always your technical experience, being able to leverage tools that I mentioned at the top, SQL, BI, Excel, and Python. The second one is domain expertise. So this is where your background helps you. For instance, you have a degree in maybe business administration, accounting, and you're applying for a role as a data analyst where you're going to be analyzing financial data. They are going to take you over a candidate with healthcare background, right? For instance, you're applying for a financial role and someone with healthcare background, like as a nurse, is applying for the same role. They are going to take you over the person without the financial background. So that is why your domain expertise is very important. You're never throwing it away. You're going to make use of it, and you're going to become better with it. So that's the good part with this field, because your domain expertise plays a very high role in all the applications. And the final skill set is going to be your soft skill, which is always the communication part. There is a lot of presentation. You're presenting your findings or your insight or your reports based on your analysis to like C-level executive. These are like the decision makers. So you're going to be ready because they're going to be asking you a lot of questions like, oh, there's maybe month over month change in sales was like 5% or 20% down. They're going to ask you, why was it down? So you're going to be prepared. So that's why every time you're analyzing data, you're working with like teams of people. For instance, you're working in healthcare as a data analyst. You want to be working with people. For instance, you're analyzing maybe pharmaceutical data. You want to be working closely with a pharmacist that can help you break down the terms or help you understand what exactly happened based on the trend you actually notice. So we always work collaboratively with other teams or other departments. If in my case, I analyze a lot of marketing and sales data, so I'm always working with the marketing, the digital marketers, and also the sales reps. So every time I notice some kind of trend, I'm always contacting them like, hey, I noticed the trend is like going down maybe last month. What exactly happened? Are you guys like closing up the leads? Are you guys like updating the reports and all that? So I want to be ready. So whenever I am actually presenting, I already have my answers. So a couple of things you also need to know are the KPI metrics. So this is where the business side is very important. All industries have different KPIs you're expected to have on your analytics solution or dashboard. If you're going to be analyzing an e-commerce data, they expect you to be conversant with the kind of KPIs they use. So KPI simply means key performance indicators, and these are just numbers. These are the metrics they use in measuring success, right? E-commerce, they want to ask you things like what is revenue, what is profit margin, and all that. I had one of my students went for an interview last year, and the first thing they asked her was, she was actually applying for like the role of healthcare data analyst, and the first thing they asked her was the KPIs for healthcare industry. But I mean, we covered a lot during the training, so she was able to tell them things like you want to analyze things like total patient recovery rates, length of stay, response time, and all that. And when it gets to marketing, it's a lot. We have things like the click-through rates, we have things like conversion rate, cost per lead. So this is where your domain expertise helps you. So if you already have some kind of marketing background, then you want to be applying for jobs as a data analyst that do a lot that has to do with analyzing marketing data. That should be your top priority. If you have financial background, your top priority should be focusing on analyzing financial data. However, you can still apply to other industries, but make sure you consider those areas where you have your background as the top priorities. Application of data analytics, that's another interesting part. The good part about this field is you can work in any industry, healthcare, finance, marketing, sales, logistics, insurance. You can always switch. My first role was in a bank back in Nigeria. I used to work in a bank before I moved to the US. So I've been using Oracle database like right from like way back in Nigeria to extract reports, especially when it comes to customer statement of account and all that. So we're using Oracle database. So I use SQL query to extract report from database. However, when I got here, I worked in e-commerce industry, so I was analyzing e-commerce data. So I was able to like provide them insight on like the top 5 performing products, and that really helps them not only improve the overall, increase the overall revenue, but also reduce costs in wasteful inventory restocking. So these are the kind of things we want to see on your resume. We want to see what exactly you did, the impact, what exactly was the problem, the impact, and the result. I want to see something. I don't want to see something like, oh, I'm analyzing data. No, I analyze data using maybe Tableau, and that helped to eliminate things like reduce reporting time. I analyze marketing data, and that helped increase the overall click-through rates that help increase the revenue. So these are the kind of things we want to see on your resume, not just you telling us exactly the responsibility. We want to see the impact. What was the result of your analysis? And I can show you guys a couple of them. So the next one is Here are the couple of roles we have in this field. Data analyst is only one of them. We have a lot of job titles you should be searching for on the job engine. We have things like business data analyst, business intelligence analyst, data analytics specialist. So these are the terms you should be searching for, not just searching for data analyst, because when you keep searching for data analysts, you are actually missing out on a lot of jobs. So we have a lot, and like I said, I'm going to send you guys this stuff, and definitely the lines are going to be out of it when I send it to you guys. So I'm sorry about that. I don't know what that is, but you guys should just bear with me. So these are a lot of roles you can apply for. So that's the good part in this field. We have a lot of roles, a lot of job titles to apply for, right? So this is going to give you an edge over like every other person, better than every other person in various fields. So that way you can apply for more job, as much job as possible. So let's talk about the framework. So you got in as a data analyst, they gave you a task, and they're expecting you to deliver the task with little or no supervision. What are you expected to do if the task has to do with data analytics projects? So the first thing you want to do is make sure you understand the business goal. And I'm going to show you guys a little bit on that before the class goes over. The next one is the data collection. You want to identify the data sources. What data sources are you collecting data for? So once you collect the data, the next step is to start transforming your data. So this is where your data cleansing comes in. So you're going to manipulate the data. There's a lot of things you look out for when you're cleaning data. Things like missing values, you're going to fix that. Things like outliers, you're going to fix that. Things like wrong use of data type, you're going to fix that. Things like removing duplicates, inconsistent use of text. So there's a long list of things we look out for in data, and I'm going to show you that. So let me show you guys this real quick so you can see what I mean by data cleansing. All right, so here's a scenario, right? So this is just one of the tasks we also always perform with our students. So here's a scenario. You got a data set like this, and just by looking at the data set, you can see on this column right here, you can see how the gender is represented with 0 and 1, right? However, you're not going to represent any gender with 0 and 1 for people with non-technical expertise to understand what that means, because these are represented in what we call binary, and we always do that when we have to work with a machine learning algorithm. However, if the goal is just to convert this to a visual like this, let me show you this real quick. So here's our website, just in case you want to like go play around on the internet, you can feel free to do that. So just trying to show you guys exactly what you're expected to do when you get data set like that. Okay, here we go. Okay. All right, so this is the same data set we're looking at right here. Let me see, where's it again? Yeah, so here's it. We already cleaned this one off. Okay, right here. So this is the same data set, right? So looking at this data set, you see how the gender is represented with 0 and 1. But right here, you see how we represented it with female and male, right? So your job is to transform this data from 0 and 1 into the term male and female, right? The next one is the age column. You see how the age is like broken down into individual age. Every time you have to deal with age data, they expect you to create what we call an age group or an age bucket, right? So I can tailor that back to the coronavirus incident. So how do you think they come up with strategies like, oh, people that are between maybe 50 and 60 have the highest likelihood of contacting coronavirus, right? So sorry, that is because we create what we call the age group. You're never going to represent data like in individual terms. You always create an age group, right? You're going to create a bin or a bucket, right? So this is the same data set we're seeing right here. And also here's another one saying hypertension. What is the likelihood of people having hypertension, which is either supposed to be a yes or a no, right? So they expect you to convert these as well. And you keep scrolling down to like all the columns you have, and you see how you have bunch of like missing values, blanks, and all. They expect you to treat that. For instance, to treat this blank, I can either replace the blanks as null, and I can simply do that by clicking on this, going right here to go to special, select blank, okay, and I'll just type the term null. And once I do that, I'm just going to fill that out this way, right? Because you're going to be working with multiple data sets and with rows, like millions of rows. So you're not never going to be writing this like manually. They expect you to know how to fix all these issues. So these are the places where we spend majority of the time on. When you make your research, you're going to see data scientists and data analysts spend 60% or 70% of their time cleaning up data. Right? So imagine you cleaning up all this data, converting this into male and female, converting this into age bucket, and you have to create what we call a machine learning model. You have to convert them back. Like all these categorical variables are just things like text. You're going to convert them into numeric variable, which is only zeros and ones. So it's really technical. It gets technical as you get deeper. So those are the things you're going to be learning in your training. So once the data cleansing part is over, the next step is to start your analysis. So every time you hear analysis, we're basically telling you to like apply statistical method. Things like variance, things like mean, what is the average, what is the standard deviation, what is the p-value. So these are the things they expect. So these two terms are not the same. This is analytics, this is analysis. Analysis simply means applying statistical methods. Then the final stage is always going to be your visualization. That means transforming the raw data into something like this. So people can go here, the end users can go here, filter the data, and just try to like see things themselves without you being there. They can understand the data, right? However, when you're a data scientist, it's totally different. The workflow is different. We start with the data collection, understanding the business objective, which is always the first part. Then you collect the data, explore the data. Once you explore the data, the next thing is to start applying machine learning algorithms. But before you do that, we do what we call exploratory data analysis. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like in Python. We do a lot of feature engineering before we can even start creating the model, right? So it is totally different, but I'm expecting everyone to always start from this field, which is data analytics, because that doesn't even depend, that doesn't have anything to do with your pay. Like out here, it doesn't matter what the title says. You might be a data scientist. I've seen one girl, one of my friends, her previous role was a data scientist in Amazon. She was a data scientist in Amazon, and she moved to Google, and her title says data analyst. It doesn't matter. It's all about what you're doing, what the job description says. So people tend to use the terms differently, right? So you should be more focused on the job description than the job title. So that's one thing I need to like have you guys know. So I broke this down on the process, what each of them means, the business understanding, the business data understanding, preparation, and all that. Right. So here's a good one. So you start working as a data analyst or a data analytics professional. There are a couple of things you should always ask before you start working on any project, right? So these are a couple of questions I put together. Things like, what is the goal of the project? What is the main problem and the solution goal? What are the data sources and databases? What data is available? Where is the data dictionary? What type of analysis is required? Is it a trend, exploratory, or performance analysis? Who are the target audience? How are the data related in each table, right? So these are questions. Once you get a request to like actually work on a project, you are expected to ask questions, not just start working on the project. You want to make sure you understand the project before you start. So the next thing is data governance. This is kind of advanced, nothing, this is just kind of like policies governing data, which is always with the data quality, always with the data dictionary, and all data analysts always work within the plan. It's just you adhering to like the policies and the plan when you're doing the data set. So this is almost the last one. Yeah. So common mistakes beginners make. Some people feel because they've completed a Udemy course, Coursera, or whatever, that means they are automatically a data analyst or a data scientist. Trust and believe, it is different in the real world. You're going to be like sweating down your pants and all that when you get the project, because a lot of times when you get all these projects on like Kaggle and all that, the data always comes in a flat file. And when I say a flat file, it was just exactly like what I showed you, just one sheet, right? However, when you work in real world, the data comes in from different sources. So first you're going to be tasked with like fixing those issues that has to do with like the data modeling before you can go on with that. So these are just things that can help you understand or like help you get better. Once you feel like you're making this mistake, you're just expected to like just take it out of your mind and just focus on like knowing or reaching out to people that already knows the stuff to like help you break through. So like I said, this is going to be given to you guys, and the final one is just going to be, no matter what you're learning, where you're learning from, make sure you're covering all these goals. The first one is always learn how to leverage data and analytics to make data-driven decisions, which I'm going to show you guys in the feed. The second one, understand data analytics workflow. The workflow is the same across all industries, right? So it doesn't change, it's the same. And I've shown you guys what it looks like. The third one is learn how to develop analytics interactive dashboards. It can either be with Power BI, with Tableau, it doesn't matter, but be very efficient with that because that should be your go-to tool. The next one is learn how to uncover insight and tell a data story, right? So working with a dashboard is totally different from telling a data story. So all these are going to be covered in programs, are supposed to be covered in programs. I don't know, depending on where you learn your stuff from, but we cover that as well. Learn how to use core data analytics tools, which are SQL, Excel, Power BI, and at least know how to analyze data with Python. They don't expect you to know how to use machine learning algorithms, but you need to know how to analyze data in Python. And the final one is going to be become job ready. And that simply means when we say job ready, not just the technical skill, you have to be good with the technical skill, your domain expertise, and learn how to communicate your insight. So I think that is all we have for today. And just heads up, myself and my team were planning for an upcoming data analytics certification training in September. It's just going to be for people out in Nigeria. So that way the cost can be totally different. It can be $200, it can be $300. We've not decided. However, it's going to be project-based hands-on training. We're trying to decide or fix the exact date and also the number of days we want to cover this on. And we're going to be covering analyzing data with SQL, SAS, which is one of the top used data analysis tool in healthcare industry, Power BI, and Python, right? So before I move forward or before any further ado, let me just go ahead and show you guys a couple of things you're expected to know in Python. So here's an example of what we cover in our data analysis class in Python. So we cover a lot on data validation, data exploration, exploring data and manipulating data using pandas, a lot of the content, and here is how a project looks like. So here's an example. DataTechcon recently launched a marketing campaign across media mix channels to help increase brand awareness and click-through rate concentration towards students enrollment. However, based on the historic data, cost spent by the company is higher than the return on ad spend. As a data analyst, you are tasked with performing an exploratory data analysis on the historic data to derive insights trends and patterns to help them make informed decisions. And finally, we want you to build a predictive model to predict the likelihood of target audience clicking on ads. We all know what an ad is. We see it on Instagram, we see it on Facebook. So people running ads, all companies run ads. People running ads, the goal is always to increase brand awareness and also have people actually take their service or either purchase something or leverage their service, right? So for every project, you always start with importing the data. Then we go further with exploration. So this is Python. This is how you analyze data in Python. You go further with the exploratory data analysis part. So these are the things we're going to talk through: how to treat missing values in Python, how to like import the data, how to manipulate data, filtering your data, sorting your data, and all that stuff. So this is something I put together for my student. I use it on my courses. So this is the descriptive analytics aspect, dropping missing values. These are what they expect you to be doing at the job. These are the things we do at the job, right? Transforming data, manipulating data, columns and rows, selection, filtering data, sorting data, and it goes on and on and on and on. And before you start your data visualization, you have to create different visual. Another thing is a lot of you guys might be copying and pasting all these things online. However, you must be able to interpret what each of the visual means, right? So those are part of the things you're always going to learn that you will not get online as well, how to represent data in different format and interpret the data. And it goes like that up until you start creating what we call the machine learning model, right? So here's an example when we started building the machine learning model. It's all about using code, importing code. We can either create regression or we can create what we call classification. So overall, I think that is all I have for today's class. And one last thing I want to show you guys before I start answering questions is going to be this. So here's here's our online training. So here is an example of what I was saying, right? Out here we charge $2,000, but like I said, in Nigeria it's never going to be close to that, right? So like I said, the target is between $200 and $300, and it's going to cover all that, right? So here's the final thing I have to show you guys before I start answering your questions. Damn, I can see we have 50 questions. So we have 30 more minutes. So here's an example of what an analytics solution is, right? So here's an example of the project we did for a client, and the goal was to predict churn. Churn simply means the rate of attrition. That means the rate at which people cancel services. Like I said, the data always comes in the raw format in Excel, like what I showed you, or it can be in the database, so that way you use the SQL query to extract the data. So in this case, let me show you guys what the SQL query looks like. So here's what an SQL query relational database management system looks like. In this case, we're using Postgre. For instance, you're asked to analyze data to pull report of customers that are between the ages of maybe 30 and 40. You run us. Let's use this one. Okay, so let's use this. So the goal is to extract customers' reports for only the customers that lives in the city, Texas, and Concord. So I wrote the script already. I'm going to execute that. So once I execute that, it's going to give me this, right? But remember, this is stored in a database. So what are you expected to do before you start creating your visual? You're supposed to extract it in Excel. And to do that, once you get the result of your query, you're going to extract this in Excel. And once I extract it, it should be right here. So we always use the query. So this is it. Then I can start analyzing the data. If I have to use Python, I'll import it into Python. If I have to use Power BI, I'll import it into Power BI to start creating my visual. But for you to get any sheet or any data in from the database, then definitely you always have to use what we call the SQL query. So here's what the data looks like, the full data, and you can keep like scrolling up and down until you get to the final stage. So let me go over to the questions. I think I have one last thing for the questions. Okay, so here's the final one. So at the end of the day, the goal, when they say creating an analytic solution, like I said, the data is coming from multiple sources. So they expect you to create what we call an application like this. So we created this for a client. And when we say interactive, that means you can leverage all those buttons to like view different views. So when I click on this, you see what happens once I click on this. It takes me to the next view whereby we can drill down the data from one state to the other. So we have buttons going left, right, center, and all those buttons are kind of super interactive. So we can always go back to the data. We can use the buttons to go back and forth. So that is what they expect you to create every time you get a visual. Don't get me wrong, sometimes you get a project, it might just be one page. So if it's one page, it's just going to be something like this. If it's like multiple views, then you're going to get multiple visual. So I think I am done talking. Let me see. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead to like have everyone unmute everyone so that way we can ask questions. So I'm going to stop sharing so I can see everyone. And let me just take a quick screenshot. So if you want to turn on your camera, feel free. I can see some people turning on their camera. That's fine. So, hi. Nice to meet you guys. Okay, let me see the questions before I unmute everybody. All right, let me unmute you guys too.